With long-lived franchises that have multiple entries, the subject of what the next game will bring will always be a popular one, and the less we know, the bigger our imaginations can be. I am Bon, and today I am going to chat about 10 things I want to see in the next Mass Effect game, from who we'll play as, what engine we'll see, and the conversation about bringing back a morality system. If you enjoy this video and want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to be notified when I post new videos, like the video to help it get noticed, and comment down below with your thoughts or if you just want to help out with the algorithm. For the too long didn't watch, I would like to see bigger hub locations, use Unreal Engine 5, have a tight main story, bring Shepard back, encourage exploration for activities, no new big bad antagonist, set canon choices, make it in the Milky Way, introduce new species, and bring back the Paragon Renegade system. If you want to hear my deeper thoughts and reasoning behind these ideas, just stick around. First, bring back hub environments. As the trilogy went on, the Citadel hub got smaller, and by Mass Effect 3 we didn't even have hub areas that we could revisit like Ilium or Omega. In Andromeda we had vast hub areas like the Nexus, our ship the Tempest, and various settlements that felt a bit empty but were still impressively large. In the next game, I think it'd be great to bring back these hub areas, such as a fuller scale Citadel, various planets / stations as hubs, and our own home ship, but at a modern day fidelity possible with new consoles and PC hardware. 2. Use Unreal Engine 5. It's well known at this point how Frostbite hampered Andromeda's development, as well as Dragon Age Inquisition and Anthem, due to it being an engine built for large-scale multiplayer first-person shooter gameplay. It's also known that Unreal is one of the easiest engines to work with, most feature-rich from the start, and pushing boundaries with build tools, especially in this 5th iteration. The main downside to using Unreal will be the sharing of profit required, but with in-house devs being more familiar with the engine, being able to more easily recruit devs to a more desirable engine to work with, and being able to utilize tech like MetaHuman, I think it'll be a big boost to the franchise in many ways. While they haven't officially confirmed Unreal 5 will be the engine of choice, Mike Gamble has retweeted open jobs requiring Unreal experience, and as of today there are 2 roles BioWare is hiring for that specifically talk about them being for Mass Effect and that reference needing Unreal experience. 3. Give us 3 companions. So far, both teasers for the next game as well as some concept art seems to be heavily suggesting that we may be going with 3 companions instead of 2 like in the previous games. This isn't new to BioWare, as there are already 3 companions in games like Dragon Age Inquisition, and there's a lot of reasons that this would be fun, such as expanded banter between the companions and even more squad powers to work with and so on. While I am not a big fan of Inquisition system that allows you to play as each character in your squad, I wouldn't mind as long as I didn't have to play as them, and this would fulfill some players' desires to play as other species in the series without giving up on the main human protagonist. 4. Bring back Shepard. This is probably the most controversial wish by me, and I think it has a lot to do with how recently I've gotten into the franchise, where I haven't had 10 plus years with Shepard and am still wanting more from the character, while OG fans understandably want to move on. My issue is that when bringing Shepard back is talked about, the most common response is Shep's story is over. Even if you do the destroy ending, it confirms that Shep lives through the final events of the trilogy. My pushback is that Shep's story literally ends on the ultimate cliffhanger, And there's so much more to be told for Shep and the entire galaxy if the Destroy ending is canonized, from how the power vacuum is handled, to how the various civilizations rebuild, to how pre-spaceflight civilizations may emerge in the post-war galaxy. I would argue that we need the protagonist that still needs to be human, even if we don't play as Shepard, as Mass Effect is a human story told from a human perspective. Obviously, I understand the desire to play as other species, but similar to the story issues with trying to account for every single choice in the original trilogy, I think that there would be significant issues with trying to voice and model so many potential protagonist backgrounds. I also think the unique thing about Mass Effect is that Shepard isn't really our character, because they have a background and the choices we make through the game still eventually lead to about the same place, which allows BioWare to let the protagonist be more than a silent observer to everything else, unlike in most other Western RPGs. Number 5, encourage exploration. I'm not going to argue that the planet exploration from Mass Effect 1 is good. In fact, I'll argue that it's monotonous, boring, and the part I dread the most about a new playthrough. But I do think it'll be important to have something more than what we got in Mass Effect 2 or 3 when it comes to exploration and naturally coming upon side missions and storylines. I won't sing Andromeda's praises very often, but I do appreciate in that game how they tried to make each place you visit a large place to explore and experience, though that is often sullied by it still being fairly empty and being forced to drive around for multiple minutes in the Nomad. I understand the challenge of making multiple open world environments with lots of detail and such is part of why the first game's open worlds were completely barren, but with modern tech and engines that in theory could do some procedural environmental creation that can be polished up by artists, it'd be nice to see them try. I just want to be able to land on a planet and find some cool side missions or stories if I want to take a break from the main quest line without everything being spoon-fed to me. 6, no new big bad. I really hope they don't try to replace the Reapers with some new single antagonist like the Leviathans or an entity new, all-encompassing force that once again threatens to destroy the entire galaxy. This new game would be better off having a lot of gray situations that we may not agree with the actions of a person or group, but they aren't black and white bad guys. If they plan on making more than one game in the new series, it would be interesting for them to maybe subtly hint to a larger looming threat by revisiting the dark matter storylines they've dabbled in, or maybe even another unknown bigger threat. One idea I don't hate is the potential of some outlier species to create a competitor to the weakened Council Alliance, such as the Batarians possibly seeking out the Yogg and the Vorcha to try to make a move while the Citadel species rebuild and deal with big changes like the Citadel being moved to the Sol system. 7. Set some canon decisions. My honest opinion is that it may not be technically feasible, and it definitely isn't possible from a time perspective to make a sequel to the trilogy that can account for every single choice, which is why it seems that they tried to make Andromeda to get away from having to do that. And but I think the community needs to accept that a canon ending as well as some other canon choices may have to be made. My personal preference, and what seems to be confirmed from the teasers shown so far, is the Destroy ending because it sets the stage for the post-war galaxy the best and would likely be the easiest thing to bring entirely new players into the franchise with. While this would technically dismiss the other choices made, people can make, it seemed like it's just one way of exploring the future of the galaxy and that their headcanons are still valid. 8. Make this a Milky Way story. I want this next game to be in the Milky Way galaxy, and honestly, I want it to be a direct sequel to Mass Effect 3, and if you'll put your fist down for a minute, I'll explain why I think this is the best route. Andromeda as a galaxy and game itself has a bad taste in the mouth of many fans and in the gaming public in general, as most people didn't stick around to see the game get fixed up. And in my opinion, even the fixed up Andromeda is a fairly mediocre game and is just bad compared to the trilogy. The post-Reaper War Milky Way galaxy has endless possibilities available to create an interesting story, such as things like the broken civilizations will leave a huge power vacuum while the Citadel Council species recover, and that power struggle could be incredibly cool to be involved in and to observe. There's also the race by various species to recover and decrypt the millions of years of tech within the dead Reaper husk. That would be interesting, especially if there is a race to try to recreate the AI that would have been wiped out in the Destroy ending. Last, I think after Andromeda and Anthem, who knows how Dragon Age 4 is going to go, BioWare needs to tap into nostalgia in a big way with the next game, and there's no better way to do that than to go back home. We know from Codex entries that there are still millions of space systems to explore in the Milky Way, and we've got huge changes to the galaxy, like the Citadel being permanently in the Sol system, that will surely cause drastic and interesting changes in the game world. 9, bring in new species. Interacting with species that we have heard of but have never seen, and to see how many new, the newly uplifted Solarian species of the Yogg, that may impact the galaxy in a big way. I believe the Solarians will try to uplift the Yogg to prepare for a possible threat from the Krogan if the genophage being cured becomes canon, but I think they may go too far again and be punished for uplifting another species artificially. Doing this, bringing in new species, would allow the teams to get creative with new species that are, have their own allies, or maybe they're going to be enemies, without having to jump to a whole new setting. I honestly think showing new species getting integrated into the council species would be really cool and would give us a lot of chances to see what it's like when a species is new to the entire council. And then finally, bring back the Paragon and Renegade system. I desperately want the Renegade and Paragon system back, but not necessarily in the black and white way we've seen some push back on as an old-fashioned RPG system. I actually liked Andromeda, how there were neutral choices and everything wasn't directly stuck in blue or red choices, but I think that was missing that overarching judgment and measure of how you were judged by your actions. Instead of the generic measure, there could be a system where you are measured as a Paragon or Renegade by individuals, by species, by groups, or even by whole planets based on how you have interacted with them or have made decisions that are directly impactful on them. I want the system to be modernized, but I'd really love to see the system return in some capacity, as it was one of the biggest things I missed in Andromeda and in other RPGs I've played since. So, there's my list of 10 things I want to see in the next Mass Effect game. Obviously, this doesn't cover everything I want, and I've already accepted that many of these things aren't going to happen. A lesson I hope more of the Mass Effect community can learn sooner than later is that while we all have our own hopes and desires, I do hope we can agree we just want a good game, no matter who the protagonist is, where the game takes place, or what we do in the game. Thank you so much for checking out the video, and please don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts below in the comments, or to just help out the algorithm. Check out my gaming podcast, The EchoCast, on all podcast platforms including iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, and this very YouTube channel. Check out my stream over on twitch.tv/BondDiesel, and I am at BondDiesel on Twitter and almost everywhere else. That's all I have, so until next time.